Kanakadasa Puja also? Mazar Sharif.
Hi. First of all, let me tell you one thing. What you have mentioned that AIM, MIM leaders who have taken the permission, what they have taken the permission, they have taken on their personal presence. It is not from the party. Party has a clear stand that on that disputed Idgah Maidan, there should not be any celebration. Presently when the case is in the court, then how can authority allow?
Mr. Sharif, in politics there is no such thing as taking anything on personal. Personal comment hai, personal ye hai, personal wo. Koi personal nahi hota politics mein. You're in public life. Either you disassociate, Mr. Sharif, either you disassociate with that local neta in Hubli who's part of your party and say that he has nothing to do with your party, or you are expelling him from your party, or you accept that this is your party's position. Koi personal cheez nahi hota politics mein.
No, this is not my personal. See, that person, Mr. Vijay, what he has done he has taken his personal. He has been taken permission on his personal ground. It is not from the party side, and party is very clear that we are not asking anybody to do any celebration. Whether it is Tipu Jayanti, people if they have to celebrate, they can celebrate it in their private places. Because from the government, when it is banned, so how can anybody can celebrate on the government land?
So then you expel that person from your party. You're not doing that. You suspend him, you issue notices to him, you expel him from your party. You're not doing that either. You're also conveniently saying, oh, he's done it in his personal capacity. Like I said, in politics, there is no such thing. There is no such thing as personal capacity. You're in public life, everything is public.
When there is, absolutely not. Because there is when the government, one government bring a Tipu Jayanti, another government is banning Tipu Jayanti, then definitely there will be a thoughts of people, different thoughts. You have to respect. Somebody has taken permission on his personal, so we cannot say anything on that.
No. I think that's a completely bogus. I'm sorry. It's a completely bogus defense. There is no such thing as somebody has applied for permission in his personal thing. It's not like, one second. The people who turned up there are not his family members. No, ye personal kya hota hai? People from your party only turned up there for Tipu Jayanti. Wo personal kya hota hai? No, anyway, let me go to Atikur Rahman. No, I think the larger point here is, Atikur Rahman, the larger point is that when the Ganesh Chaturthi matters went up to the Supreme Court, one bench of the court, as far as the Bangalore Idgah Maidan said, have no religious functions there. That was for the Bangalore Idgah Maidan. But the court did not say the same for the Hubli, the Idgah Maidan there. Now that the municipal corporation has allowed Tipu Jayanti, they are well within their right to allow Ganesh Puja or Kanakadasa Puja or any other Hindu festivals that are coming up, because after all, Tipu Jayanti was also allowed.
Well, Zakka, this is political upmanship for me, and it will be so hypocritical on my part that since I like Tipu Sultan, I would say that Tipu Jayanti should be celebrated on the Idgah Maidan, and next year I will be opposing Ganesh Chaturthi festival. So to be on record, when the Ganesh festival issue also came up, I was the opinion that it should be a very welcome step in the name of secularism, that all festivals are celebrated on the Idgah Maidan. But Zakka, we should remember what the Supreme Court opined upon this particular case of Ganesh Chaturthi being celebrated on the Idgah. That why only on Idgah Maidan? Are there no other spaces in the entire length and breadth of Karnataka? So we should keep in mind, and if these political parties are in the game of political upmanship, all political party offices should be equipped to celebrate all festivals in the name of secularism.
No. One second. You're confusing two issues. Either this is public property, government property controlled by a municipal corporation, or this is Idgah Maidan. As far as the Bangalore case is concerned, I think the Supreme Court was very clear that no religious festival should happen at the Idgah Maidan. As far as the Hubli case is concerned, the court was of the view that this is public property. The municipal corporation is free to decide. Now, you cannot have it both ways. Either it is public property or it is private property.
That's it.
In the Hubli case, it's public property. If it's public property, the corporation is free to decide what sort of celebration they should have there.
Zakka, I agree with your contention. In the name of secularism, there cannot be either a public property or no public. all festivals should be celebrated if the spaces are open, if there is a space crunch. But here the political parties are making it so communal and difficult for person like me, who is a non-political person.
Okay.
What opinion should I give on Tipu Sultan? Can I be hypocritical saying that Tipu Jayanti is okay, but not Ganesh festival?
Okay. No,
it's
so
a
let me
miserable
then
thing
ask
for us to
let me
decide.
then ask Ratan Sharda, and then I'll come to Rahul Ishwar as well. Ratan Sharda, the moot point is this: no less than the Supreme Court, of course, in the Bangalore Idgah Maidan case, and that matter is still pending. It gave a verdict. It was a two-judge bench, I think, which said that this is not a corporation ground. This is not a public property. This is an Idgah Maidan. It's a certain purpose for that Idgah Maidan. Therefore, do not have Ganesh Puja celebrations. As far as the Hubli case is concerned, the same Supreme Court, different bench, did not come to that conclusion. They came to a different conclusion. Now, my question to you is very simple. If this sets a precedent that one Idgah Maidan in one city in India can be thrown open for all festivals of all religions, then the same should apply for all Idgah Maidans.
Exactly, Zaka. See, this entire debate is very confusing to me. First of all, Tipu Sultan is not a religious figure. He is not a figure of celebration of everybody. Only in India, we celebrate an oppressor. As far as Tipu goes. Now, coming to the main issue, Idgah Maidan is supposed to be used only twice a year or thrice a year for the program. How does it become an exclusive property like a mosque? Are we asking to go for a worship in a mosque? No, it's a Maidan. It can be used for any function, whether a Tipu or Tapu or Ganpati Chaturthi or whosoever. Then it's a public property. I do not understand what kind of logic
Don't
even BJP
denigrate,
has used in
sir.
case of Hubli.
Don't
What denigrate? Tipu is not a god.
An
Come on,
emperor
Mr.
who
Atikur
died on
Rahman.
the battlefield.
Tipu is not God
No,
for me,
you are
okay? I have
denigrating.
not insulted any God. For me, he was an
No,
oppressor.
nobody
He
is
killed
God
thousands of
except
people.
God itself.
He got people
But
crushed
Tipu
under
Sultan
elephant
was an
feet,
emperor
whether
who
Christian
fought
or
for
Muslims
the
or Hindu.
country,
That's
for
not the
his
issue.
motherland.
No, one second, one at a
He
time,
had
one at a
motherland.
time. Atikur Rahman,
He
please.
had his
Atikur
blood
Rahman,
on
one
the
second, please,
battlefield.
please.
Atikur Rahman,
बीच में बोलेंगे तो किसी की आवाज सुनाई नहीं देगी.
You cannot shout.
Let Ratan
I am
Sharda
surprised.
finish. Let Ratan Sharda finish. Only Ratan Sharda on the screen. Yeah.
It is my view that I cannot celebrate a person who killed thousands of Hindus and Christians for his kingdom. I cannot celebrate a person who invited French to save his kingdom from British.
No.
So let us forget about
So
freedom.
Ratan Sharda ji, then the question
Yeah.
is, no,
am
I take your point.
Supreme
Tipu
Court-
Sultan,
Sir, my point is-
Tipu Sultan
Sir, my
killed
point is-
hundreds of people, hundreds of Indian citizens. But I'm asking you, if
Yes,
that
I
is
come
the
to that.
case, if that is the position of the BJP,
Yes,
why
I'm
is a
saying-
BJP-controlled municipal corporation giving permission to celebrate Tipu Jayanti? They should not be, no.
I showed my surprise. My point is, Idgah Maidan, why Supreme Court cannot decide on a single issue of law, very simple law, whether Idgah Maidan is a mosque or it's a place where you come together twice a year. If it's an open place for coming twice a year, then any celebration can be held. Then why are we creating a Supreme Court case of confusion? What we poor citizens can control it? How can we not have confusion in our mind? Why Supreme Court should have two minds? To my mind, Idgah Maidan is supposed to be used twice a year, thrice a year. For other times, why should we waste that place and not let others use whether secular purpose or non-secular purpose?
Okay.
Because it's a Maidan. Are we trying to destroy Idgah wall? We are not. Are we trying to take it over? We are not. Then why is a
No.
public ground being tried
One
to be
second.
usurped by certain people?
The history of this Idgah Maidan, at least the one in Hubballi, was that, and I'll bring in Rahul Ishwar into this conversation, that I think back in the 1920s or something, the Municipal Corporation of Hubli-Dharwad got into an agreement with an organization called the Anjuman-e-Islamia, and this Idgah Maidan was given to them on a lease for 99 years. Then subsequently it was challenged in court, and the court then ruled sometime in the 90s or the early 2000s that this is a public property that belongs to the municipal corporation. Of course, that's been under challenge for the last many years. Now, my simple point is, if kids are playing cricket there, if there are municipal corporation provided water pipes there, and if courts, at least as of right now, the court's ruling is that this is property belonging to the municipal corporation, then surely it should be used for more than just 2 days in a year. It can be used for playing cricket. It can be used for hosting festivals also in cities where we are so starved of spaces.
Saka, we all know in India, nothing is what it seems. There are underlying many layered issues here. One, as you rightly said, it will be great if every Maidan can be used to harmoniously celebrate every cultural and social festivals of India. That's an absolutely true point. But there are underlying issues we need to discuss with. Like Ratan Shardaji rightly said, Tipu was responsible for killing of Hindus and Christians of Kodagu and Karnataka and Mysore. And that's a known fact in history, and there have been many forced conversions. But on the other side, he is a freedom fighter too. Or, even in our Indian constitution's first handwritten book, there is a picture of Tipu Sultan and Jhansi Rani together in the special provisions relating to certain classes. That particular page is adorned or decorated by Jhansi Rani's and Tipu Sultan's picture. So it's a multi-sided issue. But please remember, Tipu Sultan has remained a provocative figure. See, a person like Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, who is a holy Quran Pandit, who is more connected to Islamic spirituality and theology, is more accepted, is more celebrated. But there are some people who would like to give more push to Tipu because they feel it can provoke Hindu community. See, if Maulana Abul Kalam Azad is celebrated or Paramveer Chakra Abdul Hamid is celebrated, it is a more inclusive thing. When Tipu comes into picture, there can be debate, there can be reactions from the far right on the other side. Second, on the legal point you raised, it's also very nuanced. Because pre-independence, there has been many agreements and many contracts.
Yes.
How far it is relevant in the modern India is subjected to the judicial discretion. But only one submission as a proud Hindu I would like to submit. Whichever Maidan we used to celebrate, whether we are Hindus or Muslims, we should do it with an intention, because soul of action is intention. If our intention is not to provoke, but to promote harmony, bring together cultures, or promote celebration, that would be the good thing. So the intention here is a very critical factor. And just one more point. I'm proud to come from Kerala, where, in Shabarimala, en route to Shabarimala, Hindus and Muslims compete with each other to celebrate a temple festival. It is literally something like a positive thing where who does the best for the temple festival. Similarly, both ways around. So we should promote that spirit of harmony, and it should be done with a good intention. And
no, I agree. In fact, you know this, Rahul, better than anybody else, that devotees even take rest at the Wawar Mosque.
Exactly.
Before the climb of Shabarimala.
And even in Attikal Pongal and all, my mother, she regularly take water from the mosque because we do the Pongal near the mosque. So that harmony should be there.
So I am coming back to a simple and a fundamental point which I want to ask Atikur Rahman. If Tipu Sultan is not a religious figure, Tipu Jayanti is not a religious festival, it is not, at least for Muslims, it's not as big a festival as Eid or Bakrid is, right? Now my point is, if Tipu Jayanti needs to be celebrated, and it's celebrated in the Idgah Maidan and the corporation has given permission for it, then the same should apply to Hindu religious festivals also. Or you say that, look, Tipu Jayanti is not a religious function, whoever wants to celebrate can celebrate in their homes or other private spaces, but in public spaces we will not celebrate, it's not a religious function. Right? It can't be both.
Remarks, in fact, that's it. In my initial remarks, I said it will be very hypocritical on my part if I say that Tipu Jayanti is okay for me to be celebrated on Idgah Maidan, but next year Ganesh festival won't. It should be same, clauses for both the festivals. And for the least, I will say that Tipu Jayanti is a religious or Islamic festival. No, Tipu Sultan was the Sultan for the Indian people. He fought the colonial powers, the British. He killed equally the Hindus and Muslims who supported the British. Can Ratan Shardaji say that Tipu Sultan never killed the Muslims?
Vijay Prasad wants to come in. Yeah.
I want to counter Tipu remarks.
Yes.
The main issue, our main contention of BJP is
Vijay Prasad.
The main point here is Tipu Sultan is the of genocide of Hindus in Karnataka. Okay, so that is the first and foremost thing, and he has killed n number of Hindus, and at the same time, Congress is doing a lip service by saying that okay, we are with the Hindus, but they are supporting these kind of festivals again and again every year after year. Okay, Siddhartha started this Tipu Jayanti celebration from 2016. It was B.S. Yediyurappa's government in 2019 which banned Tipu Jayanti. Today again they are hurting the Hindu sentiment. And yesterday we all have seen how Congress leader have abused Hindus by saying that I don't want to use that word, but at least if you see the kind of words the Congress leaders used, we can know where the Congress mindset is.
No, no,
At the
Mr.
same
Mr.
time,
No, no,
today,
Mr. Prasad, Mr.
again,
Prasad, no, no, one second, one second, one second. You are well within your right to attack the Congress party. You're a spokesperson of the BJP. I have no problems with that. The issue is this, that as far as the Hubli situation is concerned, the Congress has nothing to do with it. It was moved by a local MIM neta. The fellows who turned up today to celebrate Tipu Jayanti are all from the MIM party. Why are you not attacking the MIM? You should be attacking the MIM. The Congress has not done anything in Hubli.
Here, there are two things here, Zaka. Whether is HDMC, Hubli-Dharwad Municipal Corporation, is well within its rights. Yes, the court has given the right to decide what to do with that ground. So HDMC is well within that rights. As I said earlier, Sarva Dharma Samavamai, all kind of religious activities will take place.
Sir,
Starting
Tipu
with,
is not a
Ganesh Chaturthi,
religious figure,
and
sir.
today-
Okay, Ratan Sharda wants to come in. Ratan Sharda ji.
I'm only over here.
I think BJP is making a person is, with all due respect, making a very confused statement. Mr. Tipu Sultan was not a religious figure. Sarva Dharma Sabhav kahan se aa gaya, sir? Tipu was a king, whether I like him or not. Atikar may like him, I hate him, but he's not a religious figure. So Sarva Dharma Sabhav kahan se aaya? You are allowing MIM to take a function. The people who are opposing the Ganpati festival.
He was an
Atikur
Exactly.
Sahab, once again. Let Ratan Sharda finish.
Yeah, so basic argument that you cannot criticize a party while you are also giving permission for the celebrations. If you believe that there is no harm in celebration, then stop criticizing. Or you say this person doesn't do celebration, that is one part. Second part, very clearly, MI is playing with this game to show its supremacist idea. Third is this particular land of any Idgah should be used publicly for anybody. Why they don't have Eid or Eid al-Fitr function? What is the problem? And why court should have two views? One Supreme Court having two views is, I think, confusing people.
Use park also for reading namaz during Fridays. Then allow.
Sorry, you have enough mosques. Don't try to mix up.
No. One second. No. Mazar Sharif. No. One second. Mazar Sharif. No. The legal position is this was challenged by Anjuman in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said only 2 days, at least as far as the Hubli Idgah Maidan is concerned, the Supreme Court is very, very clear. Only 2 days in a year it can be used for Eid and for Bakrid. The remaining days it cannot be used for any religious activities, is what the Supreme Court had said. Now my point, I'm asking you. I'm asking you a very simple question. You said this fellow, whoever asked for permission, MIM leader from Hubli, he did it in his personal capacity. About 20 odd people today showed up for that Tipu Jayanti. They are all his family members. They have nothing to do with MIM.
Probably see. I won't say that. No, I don't know.
Then what does personal capacity mean?
Absolutely. All have come on personal capacity only.
Sir,
There is
the
no
20
MIM.
people or the
If you
30
have seen
people who
Hubli
turned up
president,
today, are they from your party or not? I'm asking a simple question.
See, only I am aware of Mr. Vijay. Vijay is a party joint secretary.
Yes.
I know about him, that's it. But whereas the other members, they might be few might be the members of the party, but you might not see the other senior members.
So that
There
is
no president,
exactly
there is
what
no
I am
secretary
asking
involved in
you.
this.
No, that is exactly what I am asking you.
Yes.
Then don't give me this fig leaf of
course.
personal capacity. There is no personal capacity. If the person who's moved for
It is a
permission is from
personal
your
capacity.
party, if the people who've come up there are AIMIM party workers and party supporters, then this is a party function.
See, for one person, you cannot blame the party. See, there are certain people that are on their own. That means in this thing, the party is not involved.
So what
party
about
don't
the
support
rest? What about the rest of the fellows who showed up? They also were there in their personal capacity.
Absolutely. There are hardly 10-15 people are there.
Sir,
You can see
sir,
the images.
sir.
There is not hundreds of people.
No, sir, it's like
whereas
saying.
we have 3 corporators there.
No, it's like saying Rahul Gandhi takes out Bharat Jodo Yatra. The entire crowd there has come there in its personal capacity. ये राजनीति में ना personal capacity नाम का चीज नहीं होता है.
You have.
नहीं, let's be very clear about these things. Anyway, I'll give Atikur Rahman and then Rahul Ishwar the final word. Atikur Rahman. So again, I'm coming back to the moot point that I'm making. if no less than the Supreme Court has ruled that this is public property, can be controlled by the municipal corporation, then you should have absolutely no problem in any Hindu festival being celebrated there, as much as you should not have any problem with Tipu Jayanti or any other festival being celebrated there.
100% Zakka. I am in agreement with you that if the Supreme Court has opined that no, the Idgah Maidan should not be used for Ganesh festivals for those 2 days, I was in opposition to this decision. In fact, I said I would have loved looking at Ganesh festival being celebrated there. But the larger question is, these political parties are making this communal opportunism for them. The people like me, non-political people, are in a very difficult position.
Okay.
I am in agreement with Ratan Sharda ji that Tipu Sultan is not a religious figure. He was an emperor. He fought with the colonial powers. Then why does he opposes celebrating Tipu Sultan? Celebrate him as an emperor who died on the battlefield fighting the colonial powers. Don't make
Even
it communal,
Aurangzeb
sir.
died on the battlefield.
Okay.
Aurangzeb also died on the battlefield.
No, Aurangzeb was a big god for me.
Rahul Ishwar, final word. I got to wrap up after this. Yes, Rahul Ishwar.
It will be interesting for the national audience. An interesting thing about Tipu Sultan.
Yeah.
In one of the holiest of Hindu shrines, Moogambika temple, there is a ritual that respects Tipu called Salam Mangalarati, where, it is said that Tipu respected the Devi by offering salam at the time of Mangalarati. So still, even today, there is something called Salam Mangalarati. But as we all know, Tipu had other side too. Let us learn to respect history with the multiple sides. And what Sri Ravishankar ji said, take the positives, leave the negatives. There are negatives, but take the positives, leave the negative. That's the only way
I have to wrap up. It'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. Like I said, the municipal corporation there in Hubli has given permission for the Kanakadasa Jayanti. I think a 2-hour window has been given for these celebrations. Let's see if things are peaceful and things are calm, or whether there will be any flare-up of any kind. Of course, law and order has been stepped up in a big way there as well by the local administration. But we'll take a quick break. When we come back, it is arguably the biggest story of the day. A huge loss for the men in blue. In fact, annihilated in Adelaide. Is it time now, and this is the moot question, is it time for a complete overhaul of India's T20 team? You can also call us. The numbers will be opened up as well right on the other side in just a moment.
Here's the final measure I'd use. Independent voters, some folks might know, actually there are more independent voters in America than Republicans or Democrats. Independent voters almost always swing against the party in power. This election, CNN exit polls show that independent voters actually narrowly sided with Democrats by 49 to 47. That's unheard of in midterm elections. And that's a direct repudiation, I believe, of Donald Trump and those election-denying candidates that were put forward.
So what may this mean for Trump's own he's certainly harboring thoughts of running for re-election in 2024. He's promising that there's going to be a big announcement on the 15th next week. Trump himself had endorsed close to 300 candidates between the House and the Senate in this particular midterm. Not many of them have tasted success. What may this mean for Trump's own announcement of a potential, seeking another term in 2024, that announcement that he's been teasing for the 15th? And how may that change the Republican field? If Trump were to announce on the 15th, what may a Ron DeSantis, how may he react? Or a Nikki Haley or a Marco Rubio or anyone who's potentially looking at running in a Republican primary?
Well, the conventional wisdom was that Donald Trump wanted to announce early so he could A, take credit for huge Republican gains in the midterm elections, B, clear the field by having other Republicans afraid to get in because of his famous name calling, and third, that he would be able to essentially outflank the many legal and court challenges he is facing for allegedly illegal or unethical actions around whether it's business or the January 6th attack of the Capitol and whatever role he played in that, as courts may determine, in addition to his on-tape efforts to try to get Georgian Republicans to overturn the election on his behalf. All those court cases are going forward, and his belief was, if I declare my presidential campaign, it will make those prosecutions look like a persecution. Well, now, he can't take credit for a huge Republican wave. And more Republican candidates are likely to have the spine to stand up and say, Donald Trump is destructive to our party and we cannot have him be the future, because the results will be the same as in the past, losing the popular vote at the very least, and possibly quite more than that, given how unpopular Donald Trump is in the American people writ large. Just because you're popular in your party, of course, doesn't mean you're popular with the American people writ large, and Donald Trump is definitively not. He's less popular than Joe Biden, who's underwater. So I think it won't give him pause necessarily, because he only does what he thinks is in his self-interest. And he likes the attention, he likes the money, he likes the power and influence it gives him. But I do hope, for the sake of American democracy, that it inspires more Republicans to stand up and run for president if they feel that Donald Trump's not the right path forward. Not only run themselves, but also more influential Republicans standing up and supporting those candidates, as opposed to being afraid of Donald Trump, which many of them have been, which have led them to sort of acquiesce to his election lies to date, with destructive impact on American democracy and the Republican Party, as we saw from these elections.
Yeah, I guess the first test would be the election of the Speaker, the House Majority Leader, and so on in the U.S. House of Representatives. For the moment, though, thank you very much, John Avlon, for joining us. Senior political analyst John Avlon, who's joining us live from New York. Thanks very much, John, for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. Let's start with the key reasons behind what looks like an exceptionally tight race. Yes, the Republicans will certainly take back control of the House, but in the Senate, it is still up for grabs. And like I said earlier on, at this given point of time, it looks likelier that the Democrats might retain control of the Senate and not so much the Republicans, despite, the war, the soaring prices of gas and groceries. How is it that this has not become a red wave, and how do the Democrats manage to hold off what could have been a red wave?
That's the question Republicans are asking themselves today, because all expectations in Washington and much of the public polling seem to indicate that traditional red wave. And what I mean by traditional is American midterm elections have a clear pattern in recent years. The opposition party to the president who controls the White House tends to gain significantly in the midterm elections, as independent voters in particular try to create some balance between the parties in Washington. One statistic that stood out to me is opposition parties have won an average of 46 House seats when the president is below 50% approval. That's since 1982, when Ronald Reagan was president. Nothing like that is going to happen in this midterm election. Instead, a lot of the gains that Republicans expected to make evaporated. Now, the Senate still too close to call, and indeed polls show this would be too close to call. Democrats always have.
Welcome back. Hopes and dreams of an India-Pakistan final at the T20 World Cup were shattered today after the men in blue were simply annihilated in Adelaide by England. From a lack of intent by the batsmen to a reluctance to play wrist spinners, it all contributed to what was a massive, a colossal 10-wicket defeat in the semi-final.
In the end, it was heartbreak for Indian fans, and England made its way to the final of the World T20 in style. Butler's army decimated the Indian bowling attack, hitting Indian pacers and spinners alike all over the oval, and the men in blue were never in the game. Butler and Hales carried their bats to add 170 together, the highest partnership in T20 World Cups. Indian bowling was flat and toothless, but the issues for Team India started at the beginning of the innings. India had familiar struggles, with Rahul failing early and Rohit being scratchy. Suryakumar Yadav misfired today, and India got 168 only because of a superlative effort right at the end from Hardik and Virat's heroics in the middle. England's response to India's 168 was absolutely faultless. Indian bowlers had no clue on how to counter the Butler-Hales brilliance and never even came close to getting a breakthrough. Decoding the loss a little closely, Team India's strategy looked way too rigid. They waited for England batsmen to make mistakes rather than coming up with innovative ideas, like starting with a spinner or bringing in a part-time bowler despite English openers ruling the roost. Interestingly, India's highest wicket taker in this tournament, Arshdeep Singh, did not finish his quota and still had 2 overs left. KL Rahul struggled through the tournament. Rohit showed sparks of brilliance but lacked consistency, while the conundrum between Rishabh Pant and Dinesh Karthik seemed to be never-ending. It's all done and dusted now. Is it time for a complete overhaul in the Indian team, or are there some loose ends that need to be tied? Exactly 12 months from now, India will be hosting the 50-over World Cup. Will India's woes at the ICC tournaments continue, or are we going to see a new Team India which has roles clearly defined, prone to take risks and able to handle pressure of big tournaments? Those are some critical questions that Team India needs to find answers to, and the sooner will be the better.
All right, there is simply no other way to put this. We're getting straight to the nub of the problem. Is it time now for a complete overhaul of India's T20 team? We want you to join the debate tonight as well. You can call us on 01204341895. Let me bring in our guests. Maninder Singh, former cricketer, joining us. Deeptas Gupta will be joining us as well, former India cricketer. As Memon, sports writer and commentator. Maninder Singh, let me start with you first. Like I said, there is no other way to put this. Is it time for a complete operation, a complete overhaul of the Indian T20 team?
I think it's time for a big-time change, basically, because you've got to bring in the Shubman Gills and the Prithvi Shaws and Shreyas Iyers and Sarfraz Khans, who are performing, at whichever level you give them an opportunity. And time for KL Rahuls and all to go. Dinesh Karthik, I don't think he should have been in the side anyway. I think we've made plenty of blunders from game one. We never had Yuzvendra Chahal, who's your wicket-taking spinner, in the side from game one. He has been warming the benches. So I think the thinking wasn't right as well, and I think it does affect if your captain is not performing, because as we said in our package, that Arshdeep Singh, who got us wickets in every game when he bowled with the new ball, just bowled one over and he was changed. So I think probably captain not performing, not getting runs, also affected the thought process of the Indian side. So I see a lot of changes happening. If you want to win ICC trophies or even bilateral series, you've got to now bring in the youngsters I just named.
Ayaz Memon, cut back to exactly a year ago, and again, it was another T20 World Cup. It was a disaster. The captain was changed, the coach was changed. There was seemingly an overhaul of the team. And yet here we are 1 year later, and it begs the question, what really changed? Did anything change at all?
Well, certainly the result hasn't changed, Zaka. And if anything, this has been more disappointing, because there in the UAE last World Cup, you never took off. You lost the first two games and you were crashed out. Here you lost out in the semi-finals, looking as possibly the best team in the tournament till then, and then finishing on the rubbish heap, because it was a massacre today, what we saw. And I share with a lot of what your package put out, what Mani is saying, that this can't be, there's a sense of deja vu about it. There have been so many semi-finals, ICC tournaments that India has reached and then just can't be, make the cut to reach the final or win the tournament. So something has to give. And I think what needs to give, or what needs to be done, is look at where the areas we're going wrong. Obviously, the personnel becomes a big issue. England, if you remember, in 2015, they went in for a total revamp of their white ball cricket, and they won the World Cup in 2019. They're in the final year in 2022 in the T20 World Cup. They could possibly win, but even so, if they don't, they're in the final. I think that, whether you want to change all 15 players or not, but certainly the thought process has to change, and a lot more induction of players who are in form, who just scoring runs heavily everywhere and are being not given that entry into the team because, well, there are bigger luminaries, stars around, and you have to somehow accommodate them.
I am very clear tonight that, Virat Kohli had a great tournament. God bless him. I mean, he's a legend of the game, no doubt about it. Ask yourself a very, very simple question, and that's what the selectors need to do. That's what the BCCI needs to do. Are Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Dinesh Karthik, Ravichandran Ashwin, are they the future of Indian T20 cricket? No. The answer is an absolute emphatic no. And if they are not, then they shouldn't be in this team. You have to go for a complete, as they say, a surgical strike. Go ahead, bring in youngsters. There are youngsters who are doing well in the IPL. Hardik Pandya has shown his captaincy chops. Go ahead, go for a complete overhaul of this T20 team, because that's what it takes. If you want to win the One-Day World Cup next year, or the next T20 World Cup, whenever it happens, this team is not going to do it. This team is not the team of the future. And as as Ayaz said, I mean, they may be illustrious names and they can continue playing, in longer formats, whether it's one-day cricket or whether it is test cricket. But in T20 cricket, you have to be very, very clear, like England did. And by the way, as Ayaz said, that was on the back of a loss a humiliating loss to Bangladesh, I think. They lost to Bangladesh in the 15 World Cup. And then they completely overhauled their white ball cricket. And look at where England is today. They won the One Day World Cup a few years ago. They're one step away from winning the T20 World Cup in 2022. Let me get in some callers. And I know a lot of callers are angry tonight. They're frustrated at this team. Look, in cricket, you can win, you can lose. That's part of the game. That's all right. And we get it. As fans, we understand you don't win everything, you don't lose everything. But the manner in which you lost, the manner in which Team India lost today is almost like you didn't show up in the second half. The second half, the English batsmen, and there were only two of them, just steamrolled you out of the game. I mean, that's the problem. The problem is the manner in which you lost. Let me get in Ramesh from Hyderabad. He's our first caller tonight. Ramesh, good evening. What do you think needs to be done, Ramesh?
Yeah. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for the...
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Good evening. Thank you for the show, inviting me. 2 points I just wanted to make. One is why the selectors are waiting up to the semi-final to pick up or to replace the underperforming Rahul, the opener. And the second thing is the wicket-keeper, why they are again and again trying until the semi-final. Before the semi-final, you could try. When you were in minor matches, you could have done that.
Okay,
and
all right. Thanks for your call, Ramesh. Let me get in our next caller. Nicholas is calling us from Bangalore. Nicholas.
Yes, good evening. So it's such a privilege that I could speak through News Channel. So the main loss of this T20 World Cup was, I cannot blame the selectors as a youngster. So BCCI had taken good decisions, especially supporting the few youngsters like Arshdeep. So we thought, like, as you know, Asia Cup came where Bhuvneshwar was trolled badly. So we thought, okay, let's see. So by giving youngsters, when they gave Arshdeep, I was like literally shocked. Is BCCI gone mad or what's wrong with the selectors? But we never knew, like, we had such a good left-arm fast bowler for us, first thing. And another thing is, I was very shocked Virat's form to come back in the T20 World Cup. As you know, like, he was struggling last year. So I could not believe how he was struggling. And, like, same thing, he was undergoing trolls and all through Instagram, social media, all platforms, especially legendary cricketer like Kapil Dev too insulted him. He's not valuable. But as the form came up from Asia Cup till the World Cup, it was stunning. So, but
all right. Thanks, Nicholas, for your call. Let me get Mr. Narayan. He's our next caller from Coimbatore. Narayan, yeah.
Good evening to one and all. The Indian team has started to resemble a student who does well in the internal assessment in his college, but fails miserably in the university exam or board exam. So, and secondly, our best performance in T20 World Cup came in the year before IPL was formed. So there is a painful resemblance to the EPL, English Premier League. Indian cricket team has started to resemble the English football team. They have never won any major tournament, be it European Cup or World Cup after the 1967 triumph. So
thank you for your call. I think that's a good point. I think, Ayaz, you want to take that? I mean, look, the easiest thing is to blame the IPL, use the IPL as a punching bag. But the fact is, yes, he's right. I mean, the last T20 World Cup that India won was before the launch of the IPL. We have not won a T20 World Cup since 2007.
Well, I mean, look, that's also the nature of the beast. India has done actually consistently well in reaching the semis very often, once a final. West Indies, twice winners, were knocked out before not even getting into the Super 12 this time. So these kind of things can happen. My bigger concern is that India is the richest, biggest country in the sport, massive talent pool. We should be doing better than just about reaching the semis and crashing out repeatedly. I think that's really the issue. And even if you look closely at this tournament, Zaka, you had a couple of matches, maybe 3 matches, where we just got it by a hair's breadth, so to speak. We beat Pakistan on the last ball. We lost to South Africa on the last ball. and we lost. We beat Bangladesh on the last ball. I mean, these are, and your easy wins, so to speak, have come against Netherlands and Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
So all the other teams are actually doing very well against India, the major teams, which shows that the gap isn't much in terms of talent,
Of
and
course.
therefore India's thought process needs to be changed where this white ball cricket is concerned.
You know,
which England have
I
done
think the
extremely
nub of
well,
the
very
problem.
successfully.
Yeah, let me ask Maninder Singh this. The nub of the problem is also in the personnel, in the team, the squad that went, and in the team that eventually turned up in the park. I mean, for the longest time, okay, this management said DK is going to be our finisher, so we're taking DK with us to Australia. DK plays a few games, you drop him in the game against Zimbabwe, and the last two games, Rishabh Pant comes in. Look at the whole situation between Chahal and Ashwin. Chahal is your leading wicket taker. The English today, for God's sake, played two leg spinners. They used Livingston for his leg spinning skills. Adil Rashid was outstanding as the lead English leg spinner. But Chahal is your leading wicket taker. You bench him for the entire tournament, and Ashwin is playing, and Akshar Patel is playing in his place. This whole confused, personnel selection, I think, and KL Rahul, I can't for the life of me explain how and why KL Rahul continues to be as the opener in this team, because either he's not cut out for that role or he needs a break. I don't know. I mean, he's just not been in form in this tournament and even in the run up to it. Maninder Singh.
See, basically, I think if you're talking about KL Rahul, he's come back from a break. He had an injury, and he came back after that break, and he's not looked the KL Rahul that he is when he played that series against Zimbabwe. I don't know, he was in two minds all the time. The thought process, as I've been talking about, wasn't very clear. There was no clarity of thought. Like, when the English batsmen, openers came into bat, they were very clear in their mind they're going to attack. And that is why the Indian bowlers went on the back foot. I mean, the Indian bowlers started playing to their strengths. Bhuvneshwar Kumar is somebody who likes to swing the ball and get wickets first up. But he started bowling short, so not giving enough time for the ball to swing. So how are you going to get wickets? Because you don't have that speed. So, that clarity of thought as far as KL Rahul is concerned, you're talking about making him the captain. I mean, that's ridiculous, honestly, because I don't think he deserves a place in T20 side, at least as of now.
Okay.
And Dinesh Karthik, honestly, I think he's just finished one game in the entire career of his that I've seen. And you keep calling him the finisher. I think Rishabh Pant, the X factor, should have played from game one. And Chahal should have always been there. He always gets you wickets, and especially in the middle overs, who was warming the benches. So, I think the captain, in Rohit Sharma, not being in good form, probably couldn't think right.
The personnel selection was completely all over the place. And I guess you're right. I mean, if the captain is not in form, your thought process is confused. You're not sure who to back and who to go with. Anyway, let me get more callers in. Shawdeep is calling us from Vadodara. Shawdeep.
Good afternoon, Jaka, and hello to the honorable guest. What I found that Indian team today is overconfident and they need a little bit of discipline. Though the T20 matches have taken the traditional way.
All right, there's a problem with Saudi's audio. Apologize for that. Let's move on to our next caller. Ravi is calling us from Bangalore. Ravi.
Yeah, hi, Jaka. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Good evening, Jaka.
Good evening.
Okay, my limited point, and I've been making this point earlier as well in different occasions. We have got an excellent bench strength. I think this is high time we'll have to have three teams, one for T20, one for 50 over, and one for Test cricket, with a very minimal overlapping, like one or two players having not more than one or two formats kind of a thing. Because we've got an excellent bench strength, and the plan in future should be that you'll have to select about 15 people for T20, 15 people for 50 over, and dedicate all the training, everything should be dedicated. And I would go one step further and say you have different coaches for them, because it's a different ball game altogether for a different game, right?
All right, thanks Ravi for your call. Let me get Deepdas Gupta also into this conversation. Again, Deepdas Gupta, we were talking about the confused selection of A, the squad, and B, the team, whether it's between an Ashwin and a Chahal, whether it's between, Arshdeep was your standout bowler. Today, he ended the day with 2 overs to spare. He did not bowl his full quota of 4 overs, and he's your best bowler. Confused selection throughout between a DK and a Rishabh Pant. Is it because there's confusion at the top? Because let's face it, I mean, whether you like it or not, the buck stops with the captain and with the coach. And so it should be.
Yes, Zaka, and no as well at the same time, because I think we've also, the issue is more fundamental, how we want to approach and play T20 cricket. We, I think, had the same kind of a discussion post last year's World Cup, where we thought, our approach is a little conservative. So we started playing T20 with a different approach, with a lot more freedom. And then we got back to our old approach again. Today, if you look at the game, it was basically between two totally different approaches.
Mm-hmm.
One, which is old school, which, India has. And the other was the English approach, which is a lot more contemporary, where it's a lot more fearless. So I think the question that we need to ask is, are we playing T20 with the right approach or not? And once we have the answer to that question, I think everything else will start falling into place. If we start looking at T20 cricket as a format where, you play from ball 1 to ball, the last ball or till the end of the game, aggressively, trying to hit every ball or whatever, I mean, obviously sensibly, and be aggressive right through. I think if that's the answer, then I think obviously then the selection, then how you prepare the team, that all of that will fall into place. But the first question and the basic question that needs to be asked, I believe, is what should be our approach as far as T20
I think you're bang on.
concerned?
I mean, I think this game was lost in the power plays. I think the power plays tell the story of this game. India were 38 for 1 at the end of their 6 overs, and England was 63 for no loss at the end of their 6 overs. And if that's how the first 6 overs have played out for both teams, how far can you go from there, right? I think the game was over in the power plays. Anyway, let me get in more callers, please. Sudhir is calling us from Pune. Sudhir, are you there? All right, let's go to our next caller. Sheshadri is calling us from Bangalore. Mr. Sheshadri.
Good evening, Mr. Jaka.
Yeah, good evening.
I'm Sheshadri from Bangalore.
Yep.
Actually, Jaka, if we come to the cricket is we love like a god in India. But these people has forgot that we are playing the World Cup. Their shoulders were down right from the first ball. And right from this T20 World Cup, which match they have scored more than 6 runs in their power play. Where is our coaches? What our BCCA is doing? First of all, IPL is the base for us. Where are the IPL players? Now all the branded players will come to play IPL for all the 14 matches.
Yeah.
Where are they now to play for the country? Where is Bumrah? Why Jadeja has got injured? Where is your full strength? Where is your right and left combination? Where is your swing? And the ball, if you see the track of the ball was going to the knee of below the knee of the Rishabh Pant. And where it hits, it hits the sweet part of the batters. Of the England batters. Your shoulder has gone down. Now BCCA and the coach has to seriously think, and players also has to think that we are going to play for the country, not for all IPL matches.
All right, Sheshadri, thank you for your call. Arun is calling us from Kolkata. Arun.
Yeah, hi Jaka, good evening.
Good evening.
So the point I'm trying to make is that the Indian cricket is facing the similar situation it faced in 2007 World Cup when the first T20 edition was held. At that time, the senior players like Sachin, Dravid and Ganguly opted out of the World Cup. So I think if the senior players in the current lot are not taking that stand, probably the selectors need to take a tough stand on maybe likes of Rohit Sharma or KL Rahul. Because I feel the kind of cricket T20 currently it is demanding where power hitting is required.
Yeah.
You require bowlers who can bowl at 145, 150 kilometers. We are playing with military medium bowlers like Bhuvneshwar Kumar who are not doing the job. So I think selectors need to take a tough stand. At the same time, I think Rahul Dravid also need to do a lot of answering because the coach has a lot of say in the team selection.
Correct.
So I would like to have the experts view on this.
All right. I think one of the points he made is absolutely valid. And Ayaz will remember this, the 2007 T20 World Cup, the inaugural World Cup that MS Dhoni led India to win. That was on the back of a disastrous one-day World Cup in 2007 in the West Indies. And the reason the seniors opted out at that time, I think, was everybody was confused about this new format, this 20-over format. I don't think the legends at that time quite knew, what we're in for. So it was a young team. It had Dhoni and Yuvraj Singh and all of those young players, the Sehwags of the world at that time, and they turned it around, and India won. Is it time for a similar, complete overhaul, Ayaz? Yes, this is a bad situation, but I guess adversity brings the best out of people.
Yeah, I mean, look, complete overhaul, I don't know what exactly that means. I mean, complete overhaul, you would retain Arshdeep, I would imagine, because he's been so wonderful. Great find. You retain. Akshay Patel has not been around for so long in this team. He's also a new entrant. So there are, and Surya Kumar Yadav, I mean, he may be 32, but he's also new into the Indian team and he's been fabulous. So, I mean, you can talk of an overall. I think the overall has to be in the mindset. I think that, we've talked about what happened today. I think England read the pitch perfectly. Josh Butler, a lot of people were wondering as to why he's chosen to field first and not bat and whatever. But he read the pitch perfectly. And the approach of their bowlers, he introduced Adil Rashid and Liam Livingston so early. He threw the gauntlet at the Indian batsmen who were under apprehension. And they were, I think, aiming to make about 160, 165, 170, which had been a par score right through the tournament, and be secure that we can defend that. But I think England had read the pitch perfectly. This was a 190-200 wicket. And India finished very, very short. And they kind of made it a cakewalk after that.
No, so look, I'm very clear about when I mean overhaul, I'm very clear in my mind what that overhaul entails. In my mind, Rohit Sharma's got to go, KL Rahul's got to go, Virat Kohli, again I said, great form, but he's got to go. Hardik Pandya needs to take over the captaincy, and you bring in the youngsters. I think what Maninder Singh said is absolutely right. The Prithvi Shaws, the Shubman Gills, the Sanju Samsons, they need to come into this team. It's going to be their team for the future. They are the team for the future. That's what I'm very clear in my mind about what I mean by an overhaul. I don't think this is the team for the DKs and the Ashwins. They've done their time. They've done Indian cricket yeoman service, but it's time now to thank them and look at the next generation. Maninder Singh?
Absolutely right, and the captain's name. You took the right name. I think you need to bring in a change like England did. They brought Eoin Morgan, and the mindset completely changed.
Yep.
Now we've got Hardik Pandya there, who thinks about the game differently. We saw it in the IPL, how beautifully he led the side. Because when he was made the captain for the Gujarat team, I was thinking, can he? Because the kind of player he is, carefree attitude, is he the right captain? But I think you need a captain like that who is a little carefree as well. Plus, he approaches the game brilliantly. And that is the approach we need to have in the Indian side as well. And if you have a captain like that, whose approach is like that, probably the approach of the Indian team, the mindset, as Ayaz Bhai also said, will change. And that is exactly what we need to change. I agree with the names of the players that you took, that the senior players need to go, including Bhuvneshwar Kumar and the Shamis. You need to bring in the youngsters, younger fast bowlers who could bowl with the speed of 140, 145, even though some were tried, but they weren't very successful. But you've got to give them a good run, so that they get that confidence playing international cricket. So total overall, I understand where you're coming from, that some of the seniors have to go. You can't just play for your name, that you've been doing well, you've done well in the past. I think that's not going to work.
Okay, Indra is our final caller on the show, and then I'll give the final word to Deep right after that. Indra,
I have 3 points to make. One is I feel KL Rahul has actually slowed down Rohit Sharma, who would have been more attacking.
Mm-hmm.
And they've approached the T20 game as a 50-over game.
Okay. All right, Indra, thank you for your call. I'll give Deep the final word. Look, again, due respect to the selectors, but do you really see Chetan Sharma being in a position to drop Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Ravichandran Ashwin, Dinesh Karthik, and say, okay, this is a clean break. We're going to have we're going to build a new team, or we're going to build a team for the future. We're going to invest in our youth. Do you see the selection committee, even capable of doing that?
Yeah, why not? Absolutely, yes. And again, I go back to, I think we are all on the same page. I think most important part is the mindset. And Zaka, the important part is mindset, not only of the players, but also us. because we tend to value in T20 cricket sheer numbers more than the impact of those numbers.
Yeah.
Right? Again, a half century, if not at a strike rate of 140, 150, or let's say 140 in a 170 run game, 180 run game, is actually not an impactful innings. Yes, it looks good. A 70, 80 looks good. But what is the impact? So I think the mindset in general has to change, and we start looking at impacts rather than just numbers. And once that mindset changes and the approach that I was talking about, the fundamental question, are we going to play, like, let's say, England approach their T20, or let's Australia approach their T20, where you're from ball number 1 till the end of the game, you are attacking. You're attacking. So once you kind of change that approach, obviously you start looking at individuals who can perform that role.
Around that.
So
All right.
for me,
Deep Das Gupta, Ayaz Memon and Maninder Singh, thank you very much, and thank you to our callers as well. We hope that Indian cricket emerges from this adversity stronger, younger, and hopefully we will get that silverware in ICC tournaments. That's a wrap. Maria Shakil joining you with Epicenter.
Everyone, you're watching News Epicenter with me, Maria Shakil. 10 years ago, in February 2012, a 19-year-old woman was abducted, gang raped and murdered in the Chawla area of the national capital. It was a long legal road, but in 2014, a trial court convicted the 3 accused and sentenced them to death. The ruling was upheld by the Delhi High Court the same year. 5 years went on as the convicts tried to exhaust all legal options. And in 2019, they moved the Supreme Court through the Legal Services Panel. On Monday, the Apex Court ordered the acquittal of the 3 convicts, ruling that the prosecution has been unable to make a watertight case and prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The parents of the victim have said that they have lost all hope in the judicial system of the country. The order is a body blow in the fight to convict rapists and once again exposes the daunting challenges within our legal system. So let's take you through what the top court has observed. The Supreme Court said that the prosecution failed to prove charges beyond a reasonable doubt, which is essential, that you have to prove charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Courts can't convict on the basis of moral conviction. The Apex Court said that there are several glaring lapses